First of all, welcome to summer. Isn't this nice? I was thinking, at one point we were at minus 19, so from there to now is a 65-degree swing. That's pretty impressive, right? I feel like we're like little animals kind of coming out of our holes, out to the real world. Maybe a little story, too. I know that Father Simon's supposed to have this Mass. A couple of people pointed that out to me. So it's quite a story. Father Jerome has been in Rome with a group from here, and also he went with Father Ludicky from Sacred Heart Sterling and a group from his parish. So they're coming back. Father Ludicky lost his passport and can't return to the United States. So Father Jerome said, Akan and Dan can cover Masses. I'll take the Masses at Sacred Heart in Sterling. Then, yesterday, Father Akan broke two little bones in his left foot. Yeah, he was chasing a dog and he fell, and that happened. So I'm the only guy for this weekend. So we have been scrambling. We got everything covered. It's a lot of wonderful people helping out, but it's like a perfect storm. You know what I mean? It's like what else could happen? But I think we're all worked out. It's going to be fine. On a little more serious note, as you know, tomorrow, January 22nd, is the 45th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion on demand in our beloved country. Since then, obviously, millions of babies have died and continue to die through the tragedy of abortion. Today and tomorrow, all the Catholic churches in America are celebrating Pro-Life Sunday and proclaiming our belief in the sanctity of every human life from the very first moment of conception up to and through the last moment of a natural death. That word natural death is becoming more important as pressure for euthanasia grows and grows in our land. On this Pro-Life Sunday 2018, we have a great deal actually to be joyful and hopeful about. President Trump signed the Mexico City policy, his second day in office, which bans U.S. funding for non-governmental organizations, those NGOs. The UN has loads of them, the NGOs. It bans funding those because many of them promote and provide abortions overseas. It also bans abortions on U.S. military bases everywhere in the world. So as a result, thousands of babies have been saved just since that date. Pro-life Justice Neil Gorsuch has been confirmed to the United States Supreme Court, as you know. Many pro-life judges have been appointed to the judiciary in the last year plus. The Justice Department, you might remember this story, investigated Planned Parenthood selling the aborted baby parts for profit. President Trump has ended the Health and Human Services contraception mandate, that famous mandate, and he met with the Little Sisters of the Poor to celebrate it. Remember, they were going to be sued because they wouldn't provide contraceptives for their employees. The HHS, Health and Human Services, has announced just last Friday, yesterday, the establishment of a new federal office to protect doctors and nurses who refuse to participate in abortion or sterilization or assisted suicide procedures on moral and religious grounds. Finally, they are protected from being made to participate. In the midst of all this good news, and that is all good news, very good news, there's of course the bad news, that abortion on demand continues to be the law in our country. The abortion pill, you might remember, was approved in 2000, and since then it has grown. Today, 31% of all abortions are induced by the pill. And now what is called telemedicine is growing, where the woman never sees a doctor or comes into an office, but has a teleconference with a doctor, and then takes a pill which helps the fetus to detach from the wall of her uterus. And then another pill 48 hours later, which finishes the abortion. At the same time, good news in the middle of the bad news, pro-life advocates are trying to help women who take that first pill and then say, what have I done? And change their mind and don't want the abortion. They're helping women reverse the abortion if that woman acts quickly after taking that first pill. But not all technology is bad. Technology is also helping the pro-life movement. Digital media are helping engage and educate and activate pro-life grassroots groups all around our country. One of the famous ones now is a lot of people go out for the March for Life in Washington, and they get their technology addresses, and once they get back home, they continue sending them to help with projects, pro-life projects they can do back in their own communities. As you know, traditional media do not report the pro-life march in Washington every year, even though there's hundreds of thousands of marchers, mostly young people there. So live streaming on Facebook and trending on Twitter, posts on Snapchat and Instagram are helping sustain pro-life activities at the local level. Minds are changed, and preborn babies are being saved because of interactions on social media. Think of that. Like, I'm on social media, somebody else gets on, I'm thinking of having an abortion, we go back and forth, I never meet the person, but they decide not to have abortions. So social media, in some cases, is hurting the cause, but in other cases is a wonderful help for the pro-life cause. One of those social media leaders put it this way: when a baby is saved, there are no small victories. I thought that was so wise. Yes, we'd love it where abortion was no longer the law of the land, but let's get some small victories on our way there. Every saved baby is a victory. There's an important issue, I've been thinking a lot about this week, that underlies the abortion tragedy in our country, and it is society's treatment of women. The charges of sexual harassment this fall, remember, against Harvey Weinstein, the big producer, and a host of Hollywood producers and stars, as well as against prominent politicians, raised concerns not just about behavior in the workplace, but about the toxic effects of the sexual revolution in our country. The sexual revolution in the United States has been a disaster for women. A total disaster for women. I saw a cartoon this week that said it all. The first panel, a man is saying, I want abortion on demand, I want free contraception, and I want pornography. Second panel, the same guy says, and I want everyone to respect women. In other words, it makes no sense. You can't have it both ways. What our nation really needs today is the teaching of the church on sexuality and on chastity. Chastity as a path to inner freedom that comes from self-restraint. When I have the virtue of chastity, I'm free because I have that self-restraint embedded in my personality. That freedom makes it possible for a man to see every woman as a priceless gift, not as an object to be used. I might have shared with you before, in the fall of '99, I had a one semester sabbatical out of Steubenville, Ohio. Every Saturday morning, we would travel about an hour to Pittsburgh to the largest abortion clinic there in Pittsburgh. And we would stand across the street from the clinic praying the rosary, and on the other side of the street were these wonderful, wonderful Steubenville girls. They were like sophomores, juniors in college, and they had been trained as sidewalk counselors. And it's one of the rawest times in my whole life I've seen where like good and evil just clashing, like God and the devil, just head to head. These wonderful girls would pick up, they dropped the girls off, and they had about the width of this church to talk to those girls and ask them to save their babies. And in about half of the cases, they succeeded. We were on the other side of the street, and you couldn't help but just cheer, because you'd see the turn a 180 and turn away from it. The ones who went up, the first floor was a little bookstore. In the second floor, the third floor was where the abortion clinic was. And they had blinds. We could see through the blinds. And every once in a while, one of the girls would stand up and turn and look out the blinds at us praying the rosary on the sidewalk. And inevitably, the man with her, I don't know if could have been her boyfriend, the father of the baby, her dad, I don't know, would push her down so she couldn't look at us. Didn't want that to happen. So often, abortion, in other words, is not what the woman wants to do, but they feel trapped and alone. You and I are called to be change agents of this tragedy. Like Claire said at the start of Mass, a wonderful way is to pray. In your home, in church, in our adoration chapel, pray to end abortion. Fast. Tomorrow is Pro-Life Day. Pretend like tomorrow is Ash Wednesday, and just do an Ash Wednesday fast tomorrow for an end to abortion. Speak up. We can't be change agents if we don't speak up. There's this wonderful pro-life center in Johnsburg, First Wave Pregnancy Center, but a lot of people don't know about it. They have the latest technology for the woman to see her baby, and once she sees him, very often, most often, she doesn't have the abortion. Bottom line, God is the author of all life, of every human life. Yes, it takes a man and a woman, I get that, but ultimately, God is the author. When someone is conceived in a mother's womb, it's God's decision that that child would be born. You and I have to be cooperators with God to help His will be fulfilled by our prayer, our fasting, our voting, our speaking up. We have to help life become truly sacred in our beloved country.